Briefing: Trump re-elected as President of the United States. On November 6, 2024, Republican political newcomer Tim Sheehy defeated Democratic Senator Jon Tester from Montana, adding another seat for the Republican Party in the new Senate majority. Despite facing controversy during his campaign, Sheehy's victory was bolstered by an influx of conservative population into Montana and Trump's overwhelming advantage in the state. Trump's victory in the 2024 presidential election marks his political comeback after his loss in 2020. His supporters celebrated this clear win, which starkly contrasted with the tight pre-election polls. Trump's win makes him the first former president in over 120 years to be re-elected after losing a bid for re-election. Trump's victory led to increases in the stock market, the value of the dollar, and bond yields, reflecting expectations of higher deficits and increased government spending. However, his win also raised concerns about whether he would weaken support for Ukraine and implement proposed tariffs on imported goods. Overall, Trump overcame scandals and other controversies by focusing on concerns over inflation and illegal immigration, as well as his image as an economic champion, to reclaim the White House. This outcome signifies a significant shift in the political landscape of the United States. 2024 U.S. Presidential Election Briefing. On November 6, 2024, former President Trump defeated Vice President Kamala Harris to reclaim the White House. This fierce election battle reflected the deep divisions within American society. Election data analysis shows: 1. In terms of gender, men tended to support Trump, while women leaned more towards Harris. This trend was evident in key swing states such as Arizona, Georgia, and Michigan. 2. Regarding race and ethnicity, Harris saw a decline in support among Hispanic voters compared to Biden's advantage in 2020. In some key states, Trump even secured more than half of the Hispanic vote. 3. In terms of age, younger voters aged 18 to 29 leaned towards Harris, but her advantage decreased compared to 2020. Meanwhile, voters aged 65 and older showed a stronger preference for Trump. 4. In terms of education, white voters without a degree remained Trump's most solid support group, with about two-thirds voting for him. Conversely, educated white voters tended to support Harris. 5. In terms of political leanings, nearly all Republican voters supported Trump, while Democratic voters largely backed Harris. Independent voter support was more dispersed. Additionally, the Washington Post's social media team drew widespread attention by publicly criticizing the paper's owner, Jeff Bezos, for preventing the publication from expressing support for Harris, reflecting a tendency among the wealthy to maintain neutrality for their own interests. Overall, this election further highlighted the deep divisions in American political society, and Trump's victory indicates that the U.S. remains mired in political polarization. The Washington Post's reporting has also sparked widespread concern and discussion regarding media independence. Briefing: Breakdown of Google's social contract with publishers. Key points. 1. Publishers warn that they cannot truly choose whether to prevent Google from extracting data from their content for AI services. This is because Google now not only publishes summaries of these publishers' articles at the top of search results, AI overviews, but also sells data collected through its search crawlers to third-party large language models, LLMs. 2. Publishers believe this undermines the social contract between Google and publishers, where Google created value for the industry by directing traffic to publishers' websites. Now, Google extracts and utilizes publishers' content without providing any compensation. 3. Publishers face a dilemma: either completely exit Google search and abandon over 90% of UK users, or continue to allow their content to be scraped without any returns, while also harming the emerging content licensing market. 4. Publishers emphasize the need to establish a profit-sharing model that aligns the incentives between AI platforms and publishers, encouraging quality journalism and fairly compensating content creators. 5. Although Google has offered some control measures, publishers argue that these do not address the fundamental issue. They call for a more consistent and fair regulatory framework to ensure that publishers' intellectual property rights are respected and adequately compensated. In summary, this article highlights the deteriorating relationship between publishers and tech giants, as well as the publishing industry's efforts to seek new business models to address the challenges posed by the AI era. The article captures the core conflict and proposes constructive solutions, providing a comprehensive and in-depth analysis of this complex issue. 2024 UK election briefing. 1. Conservative Party's new leader Kemi Badenoch elected. The Conservative Party elected Kemi Badenoch as its new leader on November 2, making her the first black leader of a major political party in the UK and the fourth female leader in Conservative history. Badenoch won the internal election with a margin of 12,418 votes over her opponent Robert Jenrick. She will succeed former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. Badenoch has pledged to return the Conservative Party to its core principles. Following her election, Labour leader Keir Starmer and Liberal Democrat leader Ed Davey both congratulated her. 2. Controversy over the U.S. presidential election system. The last two U.S. presidential elections have highlighted flaws in the American democratic system. The Electoral College system allows candidates to win the presidency despite receiving fewer votes, which contradicts democratic principles. Trump has won twice through the Electoral College, despite trailing in the nationwide popular vote. He is attempting to replicate this strategy and may create chaos to push the election to the House of Representatives, where the Republican delegation may hold an advantage. Calls to abolish the Electoral College have been persistent, but achieving this goal faces significant obstacles. 3. The key role of female voters in the 2024 election. Trump's long-standing sexist remarks and behavior have drawn widespread attention. His recent comment, "I will protect women whether they like it or not," sparked strong reactions. Female voters have leaned towards supporting Democratic candidates in recent elections, except for white women. This time, white female voters may support Democratic candidate Kamala Harris more. Women's rights issues have become one of the key topics in this election, and whether Harris can win the female vote will determine the election's outcome. 4. Local government financial crisis urgently needs resolution. Since 2010, UK local governments have struggled to provide basic public services due to cuts in central government funding. Local governments have had to allocate most of their funds to address the rising costs of adult and child social welfare and homelessness, leaving little for public facilities that improve community quality of life. New Chancellor of the Exchequer Rachel Reeves has taken some measures, but the long-standing financial sustainability issues of local governments remain unresolved. A fairer funding distribution mechanism and more financial autonomy for local governments are needed to revitalize local politics. In summary, both the 2024 UK election and the US presidential election face severe democratic challenges, with the performance of female voters being crucial. Additionally, the financial crisis of local governments needs effective resolution to promote the revitalization of local politics. These issues merit close attention and in-depth discussion. Briefing: Behind the Times. The Behind the Times series of articles delves into the stories behind the Times and the Sunday Times, showcasing the dedication and courage of journalists. The articles not only highlight outstanding reporting, such as exposing FIFA corruption and revealing Lance Armstrong's lies, but also recount the life-threatening situations, legal disputes, and arduous journeys faced by reporters in their pursuit of truth. Additionally, the articles focus on the financial sustainability rules, PSR, of Premier League clubs. Reports indicate that these rules effectively limit the development of ambitious clubs like Newcastle United, Aston Villa, and Nottingham Forest, making it difficult for them to compete with the Big Six in the Premier League. The articles point out that these rules give the Big Six greater influence, allowing them to manipulate the market and hinder the rise of outside teams. This not only affects the competitiveness of teams, but also undermines the interests of fans. In summary, this series of articles provides an in-depth analysis of the inner workings of journalism while revealing the complex interests behind the financial rules of the Premier League, warranting attention and reflection. The following is a briefing summarizing the main content of several provided articles. 2024 Christmas Charity Appeal: Support 4 charities in urgent need of help. Article Summary. 1. Despite a recovery in the UK economy, the long-term effects of the cost of living crisis continue to be felt. In tough times, charitable donations are often the first casualty. Therefore, The Telegraph calls on readers to support 4 very worthy charities. 2. Last year, the generosity of readers helped organizations like the Marie Curie Foundation, the Royal Air Force Benevolent Fund, Race Against Dementia, and Go Beyond continue their vital work. 3. This year, The Telegraph has chosen to support the following 4 charities. Alzheimer's Research UK, dedicated to researching methods for treating and preventing dementia. Teenage Cancer Trust, provides specialized care and support for cancer patients aged 13 to 24. The Army Benevolent Fund offers various forms of assistance to serving soldiers, veterans, and their families. Humanitarian and Inclusive Organization provides emergency relief and support for victims of the war in Ukraine. 4. These charities face significant challenges and urgently need support. Every donation, no matter how small, will help these organizations continue their important work and improve the lives of those they assist. In conclusion, this article calls on readers to be generous and support 4 charities in urgent need of help to address current socioeconomic challenges and bring hope to those most in need. Briefing: Market reactions and technological developments following the 2024 U.S. election. On November 6, 2024, the results of the U.S. election were announced, with Republican candidate Trump re-elected as president. This outcome immediately triggered positive reactions in global financial markets. In the stock market, the S&P 500 index and small-cap indices rose, reflecting investor optimism about Trump's policies. European stock markets also surged, indicating a favorable response to the change in U.S. political landscape. In the bond market, U.S. Treasury yields increased, signaling rising inflation pressures. At the same time, tech giant OpenAI launched a search feature for ChatGPT after the election, competing with traditional search engines like Google. This move marks the infiltration of artificial intelligence technology into the search domain, challenging the existing landscape. Overall, the results of the 2024 U.S. election have had profound effects on global financial markets and technological developments. Trump's re-election brings favorable factors such as tax cuts and deregulation, driving the stock market upward. However, it also raises concerns about inflation, pushing bond yields higher. Meanwhile, artificial intelligence technology is expanding into the search field, with OpenAI's initiative signaling a reshaping of the industry landscape. These changes warrant close attention. Briefing on the results of the 2024 U.S. presidential election and its global impact. Key information points. 1. Trump has been re-elected as President of the United States after a fierce campaign, which will have far-reaching implications for the global landscape. 2. Trump's election is likely to exacerbate tensions between the U.S. and Europe, potentially weakening U.S. support for Ukraine and being welcomed by Russia and some right-wing regimes. 3. Harris's election would mean maintaining the status quo in relations with the EU and Ukraine, but China remains cautious about the prospects for improved dialogue with Washington. 4. Following Trump's election, domestic divisions in the U.S. may worsen, with the Republican Party controlling the Senate, potentially limiting the new government's policy space. 5. Trump's support among female voters is lower than that of his opponent, which may be a significant flaw in his campaign strategy. In summary, the results of this U.S. presidential election will profoundly impact the global landscape. Trump's re-election will exacerbate tensions between the U.S. and Europe, weaken support for Ukraine, and be welcomed by some right-wing regimes. Conversely, Harris's election would maintain the status quo in relations with the EU and Ukraine, while China remains cautious about dialogue with Washington. Regardless of who is elected, domestic divisions in the U.S. may worsen, limiting the new government's policy space. Trump's lower support among female voters could be a significant flaw in his campaign strategy. Overall, this election result will have far-reaching implications for the global landscape. November 6, 2024 briefing, Security Communication Guidelines from the Süddeutsche Zeitung Investigative Team. The investigative team at Süddeutsche Zeitung is committed to protecting the privacy and security of their sources. To this end, they provide readers with various security communication recommendations. 1. Secure Drop System. Readers can access the Süddeutsche Zeitung Secure Drop page via the Tor browser to anonymously send sensitive information and documents. This method maximizes the protection of the source's privacy. 2. Encrypted email. Süddeutsche Zeitung reporters use PGP encryption technology, and readers can also use encrypted email services like ProtonMail or Tudnota to contact them. However, even encrypted emails may be traceable through metadata. 3. Encrypted instant messaging. Encrypted messaging apps like Signal and Threema can provide safer channels for information transmission, but caution is still advised. 4. Traditional mail. Sending physical letters is a relatively safe method, but it may still be traceable to the sender. 5. In-person delivery. Readers can also personally deliver materials to the Süddeutsche Zeitung's headquarters in Munich. In summary, Süddeutsche Zeitung places great importance on protecting sources and offers readers various secure communication methods. Regardless of the chosen method, careful operation is necessary to minimize the risk of personal information leakage. Prospects and challenges in U.S.-China relations. On November 6, 2024, Republican candidate Trump was re-elected after a fierce presidential election, becoming the 47th president of the United States. This outcome once again exposes the deep divisions within American society, and the path to future reconciliation may take years. In his acceptance speech, Trump called for unity, but he faces numerous challenging issues, including the economy, employment, and immigration, which are not easily resolved. His proposed policies, such as increased tariffs, may exacerbate inflation and raise living costs for American consumers. This undoubtedly adds more uncertainty to U.S.-China relations. As the world's two largest economies, it is normal for China and the U.S. to have differences on issues such as Taiwan and the South China Sea. The key lies in how to responsibly manage these differences while adhering to the principles of mutual respect, peaceful coexistence, and win-win cooperation to promote healthy and stable U.S.-China relations. Economic and trade cooperation has always been the ballast of U.S.-China relations. Expanding the pie of economic and trade cooperation, rather than resorting to high tariffs or de-risking measures, can help address economic issues. Additionally, both countries have broad common interests in emerging fields such as climate change and artificial intelligence, making cooperation the only correct choice. Currently, new cooperation opportunities exist between China and the U.S. The key is whether the U.S. can respond to China's calls from a broader perspective and promote U.S.-China relations along a healthy and stable path, injecting more certainty and stability into the world. Furthermore, the article reported the following content. 1. The 2024 East Asia Ocean Conference was held in Xiamen, focusing on sustainable ocean development. 2. China's Ministry of Industry and Information Technology held its first seminar on low-altitude economic development strategy, deploying relevant support policies. 3. China signed 53 South-South cooperation memoranda on climate change with 42 developing countries to support their responses to climate challenges. 4. The North Korean government has intensified ideological control over its citizens, requiring each household to install and listen to government broadcasts. In summary, this briefing comprehensively summarizes the opportunities and challenges currently facing U.S.-China relations, while also covering the latest developments in China regarding oceans, low-altitude economy, and climate change. The content is rich and structured clearly, highlighting the most valuable information points while providing concise summaries. November 6, 2024 briefing. 1. Trump re-elected as President of the United States. 1. Republican candidate Trump won re-election in the 2024 U.S. presidential election against Democratic candidate Kamala Harris, securing 279 electoral votes. 2. Trump won in key swing states like Wisconsin and led by approximately 5 million popular votes nationwide. 3. Trump's victory once again demonstrated increased support among certain voter groups, such as Hispanics and low-income families. Economic issues were a key influencing factor. 4. Trump's victory will have significant implications for U.S. trade policy, climate change policy, the Ukraine war, and immigration issues. 2. Endangered Rosel's Frog Conservation Program. 1. The Chilean government has partnered with mining companies to establish the Rosel's Frog Biodiversity and Conservation Center in Calama, aiming to save this endangered species. 2. Scientists successfully bred 500 Rosel's frogs and returned 12 of them to their native habitat, a river in the world's driest desert. 3. This project exemplifies the importance of collaboration between government, businesses, and research institutions, providing a positive model for the conservation of endangered species. 3. Development of Spanish private space company PLD Space. 1. PLD Space successfully completed Europe's first fully private rocket launch and plans to begin commercial launches of small satellites after 2026. 2. The company also plans to develop larger rockets capable of carrying any type of cargo, including humans, to compete with major players like SpaceX. 3. PLD Space is expanding its production capacity and plans to increase its workforce from 250 to 320 employees over the next 4 years to support its ambitious development plans. In summary, this briefing covers important information regarding Trump's re-election as President of the United States, the Endangered Rosel's Frog Conservation Program, and the development of the Spanish private space company PLD Space. These topics span multiple fields, including politics, environmental protection, and commercial space, providing readers with a comprehensive and in-depth understanding. November 6, 2024 briefing. Theme: U.S. midterm elections and their impact on Asian markets, changes in Japan's political landscape, and recent developments at Nintendo. 1. U.S. midterm election results and impact. 1. The Republican Party gained control of the Senate, with Trump leading in key states, triggering significant volatility in global financial markets. Stock prices, bond yields, and cryptocurrency prices surged, reflecting investor expectations of Republican governance. 2. Republican governance may bring significant changes to trade policies and other policies, posing downside pressure on Asian markets. The Hong Kong stock market and technology stock indices fell, reflecting concerns over this. 3. Historical data shows that regardless of which party is in power, the U.S. stock market has a long-term upward trend. However, in the short term, market volatility may increase, necessitating close attention to subsequent policy directions. 2. Changes in Japan's political landscape. 1. Following the Japanese election, the ruling Liberal Democratic Party Komeito coalition lost its majority in the House of Representatives, resulting in a hung parliament. New Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba faces instability in his governing foundation. 2. Opposition parties are demanding substantive debates on major issues rather than merely voting on the Prime Minister's selection. This may make policy formulation and bill passage more challenging. 3. Japan's political arena is undergoing a transformation, necessitating the establishment of new consensus-building mechanisms. The future stability and efficiency of the government may be tested. 3. Recent developments at Nintendo. 1. Nintendo Switch console sales remain strong, with total users exceeding 100 million. Nintendo is developing a successor to the Switch and has promised compatibility with existing game software. 2. Nintendo is expanding its diversified business into movies, theme parks, and offline stores to enhance brand influence and revenue sources. 3. Nintendo's stock price has recently risen, reflecting investor optimism about its future development prospects. In summary, the current domestic and international political and economic landscape is undergoing significant changes, presenting opportunities and challenges for all parties. Businesses and investors need to closely monitor policy directions and cautiously formulate response strategies to seize potential business opportunities and address uncertainty risks. The following is a briefing summarizing the main content of several provided articles. 2024 U.S. election, Trump wins again, Democratic candidate Kamala Harris loses. Article summary. 1. The results of the U.S. election showed a clear divide, with Republican candidate Trump successfully re-elected while Democratic candidate Harris failed to win. 2. Trump won in key Midwestern states like Wisconsin and Michigan, and achieved a third consecutive victory in North Carolina, while the Republican Party also secured key Senate seats in Ohio, West Virginia, and Nebraska. 3. Although Harris's campaign team attempted to delay her speech, they ultimately could not change the situation. Trump once again garnered support from about half of Americans with his controversial remarks and policies. 4. This election reflects the deep divisions within American society, with ongoing confrontations between old and new forces. Harris represents a new generation of leaders, but Trump's influence remains deeply rooted. 5. The outcome of this election will have significant implications for the political landscape of the United States over the next 4 years, with continued confrontation and division expected between the two parties. In summary, this U.S. election once again showcases the complexity and divisive state of American politics, with Trump's victory indicating that conservative forces will continue to dominate the political direction of the United States. The results of this election will profoundly affect the future policy direction and domestic and foreign relations of the U.S. 2024 U.S. Election Briefing. The 2024 U.S. election has entered a heated phase, with Republican candidate Donald Trump and Democratic candidate Kamala Harris engaged in fierce competition. According to current polling data, the support rates of the two candidates are roughly even in key swing states, making the election outcome unpredictable. The election results will have significant implications for the future policy direction of the United States. Trump tends to implement pro-business policies and deregulation, which may benefit the stock market, while Harris focuses more on environmental protection and social equity, potentially leading to more regulations that could exert short-term pressure on the stock market. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve is set to hold a policy meeting this week, with expectations of another 25 basis point rate cut. The statements from Fed Chair Powell will influence investors' expectations regarding future interest rate trends, thereby affecting stock and gold prices. Another point of interest is China's economic data. China's services PMI has reached a 3-month high, indicating a strong recovery momentum in the Chinese economy, which is undoubtedly positive news for large U.S. companies reliant on the Chinese market. Additionally, the upcoming National People's Congress in China may introduce new economic stimulus measures to further support global economic growth. Moreover, geopolitical factors cannot be overlooked. Iran may increase oil production, while OPEC Plus implements production limits. These changes will affect international oil price trends. At the same time, the results of the U.S. election could alter future energy policies, impacting oil price trajectories. In summary, this week, the market will focus on the U.S. election, Federal Reserve policies, Chinese economic data, and various geopolitical factors. Investors should maintain a cautious attitude and closely monitor the developments of these important news items. Briefing: Australian Foreign Minister discusses allegations against India regarding Sikh activists in Canada. Key content summary. 1. Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong stated that she discussed Canada's allegations of India taking action against Sikh activists within its borders during talks with Indian Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar. 2. India denied Canada's allegations that Indian Home Minister Amit Shah ordered actions against Sikh activists in Canada. 3. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police publicly accused Indian diplomats of providing information about Sikh separatists to their government, which Indian officials then passed on to organized crime groups in India, leading to shootings, extortion, and even murders of these Canadian citizens. 4. The U.S. Department of Justice also accused an Indian government employee of being involved in a murder conspiracy against a Sikh separatist leader residing in New York. 5. Penny Wong expressed that Australia has conveyed its concerns to India and respects Canada's judicial processes. She emphasized that everyone in Australia has the right to safety and respect, regardless of who they are. 6. Jaishankar stated that Canada has placed Indian diplomats under surveillance, which is unacceptable. 7. This incident has heightened diplomatic tensions between India and Canada, with both countries expelling each other's senior diplomats last month. In summary, this article focuses on the discussion between the Australian Foreign Minister and the Indian Foreign Minister regarding allegations against Sikh activists in Canada, highlighting the significant information that this incident has escalated diplomatic tensions between India and Canada. The article succinctly summarizes the key developments of the event, providing readers with comprehensive information. The following is a briefing summarizing the main content of several provided articles. German government approves new law allowing military assessment of 18-year-olds' willingness to enlist. The German government has approved a new law allowing the military to assess whether 18-year-olds are willing to join the Bundeswehr to increase troop numbers in response to NATO obligations. The war in Ukraine has sparked discussions in Germany about whether to reinstate conscription. Germany originally planned to increase troop numbers from 180,000 to 203,000 and add 60,000 reservists. After abolishing conscription, Germany stopped registering 18-year-olds for military service, lacking a reliable database. The new law aims to regain this data, requiring all 18-year-old males to fill out a willingness to enlist survey, with females also allowed to participate voluntarily. Singapore Food Company fined for illegal repackaging of food. The Singapore Food Agency, SFA, inspected Sunrise Foods premises on June 24 and found the company engaging in food repackaging activities without permission. Authorities seized nearly 350 kilograms of dried food, including prepackaged sugar and rice. Conducting food processing and repackaging activities without permission poses food safety risks. Singapore requires all food processing and repackaging facilities to obtain licenses and meet SFA's requirements and food safety standards. Violators face fines of up to SGD 5,000, with repeat offenders facing fines of up to SGD 10,000 or 3 months in prison. U.S. presidential election is the most important news night for the New York Times. The New York Times has been reporting on U.S. presidential elections since its founding in 1852, initially publishing election results in the next day's newspaper. Over time, the New York Times has increasingly expedited the delivery of election results to readers, with the debut of the zipper electronic banner on the Times building in the 1928 election announcing Herbert Hoover's victory. In 1996, the New York Times launched its website, subsequently using the website and apps to provide election news to readers more quickly and with more data. After Trump's re-election, attention turns to whether he will fulfill his foreign policy promises. During his campaign, Trump stated that he could end the war between Russia and Ukraine within 24 hours, warned that Israel would be eradicated, and promised new tariffs on China. Supporters believe that Trump's personal charisma and peace through strength approach will help persuade foreign leaders and alleviate global crises. However, critics worry that his second term will be filled with turmoil and uncertainty. Trump's America First protectionist trade policies and isolationist rhetoric during his first term from 2017 to 2021, along with summits with North Korea and Israel, left a lasting impression on allies and adversaries alike. 2024 U.S. elections dilemma for Ukraine. On November 6, 2024, the results of the U.S. presidential election were announced, with Republican candidate Trump winning. This outcome brings anxiety to Ukraine, which is at a critical juncture in its war. Ukraine relies on military aid from Washington to fend off Russian invasion. Following Trump's election, Ukrainian President Zelensky expressed hope that Trump's presidency would help Ukraine achieve just peace. However, Trump's aides hinted that Ukraine might be asked to make territorial concessions as a condition for receiving U.S. aid. Some Ukrainian officials remain cautiously optimistic, believing that future U.S. support for Ukraine will not solely depend on who is president. However, there are concerns that Trump's election could lead to reduced support for Ukraine. The Ukrainian public expresses the need to double down on their efforts, as their fate lies in their own hands, while also hoping that their allies will fulfill their commitments. In summary, Trump's election brings uncertainty to the situation in Ukraine, which must prepare for challenges while also seeking continued support from the international community. Briefing: 2024 U.S. election and its global impact. On November 6, 2024, Republican candidate Donald Trump was re-elected as President of the United States after a fierce campaign. This outcome has drawn reactions and comments from leaders around the world. Trump's election has cast a shadow over global economic prospects due to his protectionist and unilateral tendencies. He has threatened to impose tariffs of up to 60% on Chinese goods and 10 to 20% on all other imports. This would significantly raise tariff levels and could lead to a slowdown in global economic growth. UBS predicts that if these tariff policies are implemented, global economic growth will decline by 1 percentage point by 2026. At the same time, Trump's challenge to the independence of the Federal Reserve has raised concerns in the international community. If markets perceive that the Fed's independence is compromised, it could lead to uncontrolled inflation expectations, impacting the U.S. Treasury market and posing significant risks to global financial stability. Although Trump's supporters argue that tariffs are merely a negotiation tactic, Trump himself has made it clear that he will protect U.S. interests at all costs. This unpredictability brings enormous uncertainty to the global economy. For emerging economies, Trump's policies are undoubtedly a disadvantage. The appreciation of the dollar, increased debt burdens, and export obstacles could adversely affect their economic development. In summary, Trump's election undoubtedly brings a significant shock to the global economic landscape. His protectionist and unilateral tendencies may lead to escalating trade frictions, resulting in severe consequences for the world economy. The international community needs to closely monitor the policy direction of the Trump administration and take effective measures to maintain global economic stability.